as long as I can remember, my mom had these old pine boards that she used to make a bookcase with. She used 4 bricks to provide the spacing between each board. When she moved, she asked me if I could use these boards to make her a headboard for her bed in her apartment. I started off by using a metal detector to find any old nails and remove those, but you'll see in a bit that it's not exactly an exact science. One side of the boards was quite nice, the other rather ugly. So my strategy was to split these boards into 2 halves in order to be able to pass these pieces on my 6-inch jointer. Now you see me here running these boards through my table saw. And here's the nail. So even though I passed the metal detector a number of times, I still found this. This is an old nail, rusted on the outside, and you see where the table saw cut it pretty much along the line. And I have found 3 more metal protrusions, let's call them nails, that were not detected by the metal detector, and yeah, the table saw found them. So I got to take those out before I continue. The next step was to cut each of these boards to a smaller length. What I was trying to get was more of a mosaic effect with the final product, so I knew I had to get smaller pieces together. Right from the get-go, I had 2 concerns with the headboard. One, my plan was to glue the collection of small boards to a piece of plywood. That meant that each board had to have at least one flat surface. Now you remember me telling you earlier that there was an ugly side. Well, that was the side I wanted to glue to the flat surface, and it was far from flat. So my approach was to use my jointer to flatten out that ugly side. Second, I was really concerned with the weight of the final headboard. It wasn't enough to flatten the boards, I wanted to remove some thickness as well. That meant also jointing one edge before I could resaw these boards using my bandsaw. I think this is the last time I ever used my bandsaw. This experience showed me that the tool just did not have the power to do this type of work. Also, the fence was far less than reliable. With one surface and one edge at 90 degrees, I tried to resaw each board into a thinner one. By the way, I had to return to the jointer to reflatten the surface. That's how bad the cuts were. Like I said, the bandsaw just did not have the horsepower for the job, so I've since sold it off. So before I do the final assembly, what I want to do is hide the exposed wood here. What I mean by that is if you look at the top of the boards, the original top, this has got a nice brownish color. It's got some wax included in there, so it's got this really nice look. And wherever I've done cuts, obviously it's exposed new grain, new wood. And so what I want to do is just using a simple stain, just quickly dab some on, right, just like this, and remove any excess real quickly, just so that I break that color and it blends in a little nicer. When I do the assembly, and I should be doing that tomorrow night, when I do the assembly, then this is going to blend in nicely. If I've got, different layers, then it's just not going to scream at me that there's been a cut. Should look good. Once all my boards were ready, it was time to get the backboard sorted out. So I took a piece of 1/2-inch plywood and cut it to size.
After a nice vacation, I'm back in my shop. My plan is to finish up this project this evening, or at least get most of it ready. So what I've done is, just to recap, I've milled my boards. I kept one of the faces original so that I've got that really weathered look that I'm looking for. And what I did is I have a 1/2 inch plywood that is 54 inches long by 24 inches wide. And what I've done is I've laid out all my pieces and I've cut a few pieces. In fact, if you see here, I've got some staining to do just so that it blends in. I did stain my boards last night before cutting them, so you see here I've got something that looks pretty, like it matches or blends in with the rest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick coat of stain on this, and it's going to dry almost instantaneously. This wood is so dry right now, it just soaks it all up. And then once I'm done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these pieces in one row at a time. I'm going to lay down a whack of glue. That's a technical term, by the way. A whack of glue. I'm going to glue each of these boards. I'm going to put some small brads in there just to hold it up. And the headboard's going to be done. Then the next thing I'll do is focus on the braces to hold all this on the bed. It's starting to look really good. This is a cool look. I'm liking this. Alright, let's get it done.
Alright, let's speed things up a bit here. So this part of the video is running at 4 times speed. I laid out some lines on my 1/2 inch plywood to help me line up the boards. As previously mentioned, I put glue on both surfaces, the board and the plywood, and used a brad nailer to clamp down the pieces. It was a very simple assembly, just going one row at a time. By the way, the last row and the sides went beyond the edges of the plywood so that you would not see it. The plywood, that is. And here's what the final product looked like. It's pretty cool. At first, my plan was to attach the headboard to the frame of my mom's bed. I struggled to find an elegant way to accomplish this result. So in the end, because of COVID, the delivery of the headboard was delayed, which gave me time to figure out a much simpler way to install the headboard. I just used 4 4-inch screws to solidly attach the headboard to the wall. I like simplicity. I'm glad the final approach was just that. Simple. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you've not done so.